Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It's your Wednesday night uncensored, unfiltered, and unafraid sports show. You still up? This episode of Buffalo After Dark starts now.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Your host, Bob Hansen, over here at Buffalo After Dark. I am your host, Bob Hansen. I am taking over Tom Wujek, and tonight we're going to be having a fun episode, and it is November 2nd, 2022, and it is the day after the NFL trade deadline. So if you guys have any questions or if you feel like calling in, feel free to do so, and the number is 929-205-6099. So if you feel like leaving a comment down below, indulge me. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So what we're going to do tonight, guys, is for the first half of the show, we're going to talk about some hockey because I think it's important that we address the Buffalo Sabres. They're the ultimate elephant in the room right now. And I think it's safe to say, because I got to tell you, man, the Sabres are playing, they're playing their ass off right now. And obviously they're sitting right now as we speak, as of November 2nd, 2022. They are right now sitting at the second seed in the Atlantic Division, right behind the Boston Bruins, which is, I believe, 4 points, or it may have been 6, whatever, because Boston won last night over Pittsburgh, and they were down bad, and then they came back and won. And the Sabres are currently down 1-0 at 1:42 left in the first period against the Pittsburgh Penguins, wearing the reverse retro jerseys. So I want to just address that real quick. So let's talk about the Buffalo Sabres, because there is a lot that we have to address here. And the thing that really brought the aspects of all this team is how experienced and young this team is. I mean, they have a lot of young talent. Alex Tuch, Rasmus Dahlin, etc. Dylan Cousins, Owen Power, they're all coming to their own, man. They're starting to develop a young team. And a lot of people have been praising the Sabres in the last few weeks. And there is a comment I want to read to you guys in a little bit from Patrick Kane. And he ended up praising the Buffalo Sabres of their work ethic because they came back. They were down 3-1 to the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday, the 29th of October, but 2 days before Halloween. And the Sabres came back and they beat the Hawks in overtime. And right after that game, Patrick Kane actually said something very interesting about the team. He said, quote, "Seems like they have a good coach. I like Donnie when he was here, and Kevin Adams has done a great job for that organization, and it seems like they're an up-and-coming team that can compete right now." That is a lot of praise from a future Hall of Famer and a Buffalo native. But that's the thing. For a guy like Patrick Kane to talk about the Sabres, about the direction that they're going in, this time around, we would be talking about, how the Sabres would be competing and then potentially, sinking the ship and then hitting the bottom of the ocean like the Titanic. But this time around, it feels very differently. There's no cancerous, carnation going around like Jack Eichel, etc. Just being a distraction for the team and causing trouble, etc. It feels very different, and it's been over a year since the Eichel trade. I think it's November 4th. That's coming up on Friday. That it would be the 1-year anniversary of that trade between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Buffalo Sabres, with sending Alex Tuch and Peyton Krebs and a first-round pick and a second to the Buffalo Sabres for Jack Eichel. But I think it's important to discuss this because this was a huge trade, in my opinion, to the point where it completely changed the franchise around for the Sabres, because Alex Tuch, since the moment he skated onto First Bank's KeyBank Center in Buffalo, he has just been absolutely dynamic. He has been a leader. He's been there for when the boys need it. It's insane. And even to the point where some people were saying that he should even be considered captain, but they gave it to Kyle Laposo before the season started. But on the other end of the spectrum, the Sabres also, like I said, they're a little banged up on defense, but they got a young team and they're learning the system, they're learning the league, and they're going to grow together. And I think that's what a lot of people are very confident about the team with, is they're not going to win every single game. I don't expect them to. But to say that the people, not just in Buffalo, but in the NHL, to talk about the Sabres the way they are, to say, oh, this team has a chance to compete, I think that's a compliment, honestly, because nobody would be talking about the Sabres like that in the last few years. Because then people are now turning around and saying, you know what? This team might actually be turning it around. They actually might be doing something right. And they were talking about this for a few years. And let's say over a decade that we've been hearing, oh, the Sabres are going to be good soon, and never really gelled. Now it feels very differently since the Eichel trade. So I feel a lot better about it. I like Eric Comrie. He's turning into a very good player. He's turning into a really good goalie for the Sabres. I also have to give a lot of props to Craig Anderson for being there with the team, even though when he first signed there, he was like, I'll just be a backup, whatever. And then the second year, which is where he's at now, um, he's kind of been the mentor for Eric Comrie, because Comrie could very well be an NHL goalie, and he's still in his prime. He's still in his mid-20s. So to him getting an opportunity to be a starter for another 2 years until like Devin Levi, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen fully develop, etc., I definitely think that there are pieces in place to build this team from the ground up. And I got to give it to Kevin Adams, because he really did a pretty good team altogether, all around. And I really do believe that what the Sabres have going for them is actually turning out to be a really nice team. Now, again, I don't expect him to do no wrong by any means. They're definitely going to be a good team. But I think, though, with keeping developing the players they have and letting the team grow, because they never really got a chance to do that when Eichel was here or when Evander Kane was here or Ron O'Reilly was here. It feels very different. So I feel as of now, it just feels like the atmosphere and the energy is starting to shift. And it's nice to see, because a lot of people would not go to Sabres games a few years ago because of overpriced tickets and then losing and the cold weather. It felt like the Bills almost 20 years ago. That's what it felt like. But now we're entering a new era with new veterans and then new leaders on the ice, etc. And they got some talent. And again, they got to just develop those guys. So keep it up, and I think they're going to make a push in the playoffs if they can continue the way they're playing. Because like right now, they're playing pretty stellar hockey, and I really, really enjoy watching them. And they're actually competitive, which is really, really neat to say. I mean, they were subpar competitive when Eichel was there. So, yeah, it's getting up there for sure. And again, like I said, we just got an update before we head on to the next segment of this first half of the show. Is 1-0 Penguins in the end of the first period. And if you feel like calling in onto the show, feel free to do so. And the number is 929-205-6099. And then, so it's going to be a really interesting show. So if you guys have any comments about the Sabres, let me know. I am all ears. I would love to have a good, entertaining night with you guys. And then we'll talk about this football in the second half of the show. So we got a good 20 minutes to talk about the Sabres. So let's get right down to the other half of the show. So I already got the Sabre stuff out of the way. And I also want to mention real quick, the reverse retros actually came out for the first time tonight, and people are in mixed emotions about the color scheme, because the helmet is blue, the jersey is white, which is great. It's a reverse retro color, and I think it's only for a limited time. And if you want a copy of that jersey, you have to wait 2 more weeks. I mean, coming from Long Island, because that's where I live, I don't live in Buffalo, I have to wait. But if I want that jersey, I have to go to either the Sabre store, call them, say, hey, I want one, or I have to go on NHL.com in 2 weeks. And they will be open to the public on November 15th. That's 2 Tuesdays from now. 2 weeks. Just be patient. It will come. And the goat heads themselves are really nice. So blue helmet, white jersey, white pants, white gloves. A lot of people think there's too much white on that set. And people believe that it should be royal blue for the pants. And I think if they keep it that way, I think a lot of people would say, that's 2 thumbs up all the way. But then again, obviously it's going to feel very differently about certain opinions, because there are people who've been looking to get a goat head jersey for a while, but they never really got a chance to do it. So now you're going to have not 1, but 2 chances to get the goat head jersey. But the question now becomes, if you have an opportunity to get a jersey this fall or this holiday season, do you want the black jersey that's coming out in the end of November? Obviously, it's the black goat head. Or would you rather wait and get a limited time reverse retro jersey? Because for me, I personally already own the original goat head that I've had for 15 years. And that jersey still fits me. But I may consider getting the new one. I'm not entirely sure. Because I also want to be wise financially, of course, because there's other expenses I want to do. But I got to be wise with that money, guys. So if you're looking to go on a spending spree on jerseys this year, be very careful, because those jerseys are going to get expensive, and I can guarantee you that for sure. Because I already saw a price, I think at the Sabre store for pre-order, it was like $190. Yeah, I paid more than that, but $190 for a jersey, I think that's a little ridiculous, and that's specifically for the reverse retro. But if you're interested, that's the way to go. And so now we're going to move on to the other half of the show, which we're going to talk about the Ottawa Senators and some trades and some rumors about Austin Matthews. So let's get right down to it. So there were, I think, 3 trades that took place altogether in the NHL, and I want to just discuss them. Oh, no, sorry, guys. There's 2. I apologize. There were 2 trades in the NHL that I want to discuss. And then, of course, I have a buttload of trades to talk about in football, but we'll talk about that in 20 minutes. Anyway, so there were 2 trades, and both of them were made by the Vancouver Canucks. One on Thursday night last week, and then one on Friday afternoon. But we're going to talk about that. So there was a lot of speculation about the Vancouver Canucks. The Vancouver Canucks have been in shambles, and everybody knows they're a fucking disaster. I mean, you don't even have to be, some sort of guru to know the Vancouver Canucks are in this shamble of shit. I don't know what's going on with the Vancouver Canucks. I just don't fucking get it. Why is it that the Vancouver Canucks are all of a sudden losing these games? They look like the 2014 Buffalo Sabres. That's how bad they are, if not worse. I think they started off like 0-5-2 or something like that, or 1-5-3 or something. I don't know the number, but they're definitely bad, and they're not going to go to the playoffs the way they keep playing. And there was speculation Bruce Boudreau might get fired. So Jim Rutherford decides to put on his big boy pants and make not 1 but 2 trades. And we're going to talk about both of them. So the first one was on Thursday night between the Vancouver Canucks and the Boston Bruins. So I want to just address that real quick. So the Vancouver Canucks are going to make a trade with the Boston Bruins, and they ended up getting prospect forward Jack Studnicka. I believe it's spelled Studnicka. So if anybody has anything going on, I appreciate that with the trade. And so they're also getting another prospect, and Michael DiPietro, the goaltender prospect from the Vancouver Canucks, is going to the Boston Bruins as part of this trade. I think it's a boost up for the AHL team. I mean, I don't really watch the Canucks religiously, and rather than the Bruins. I mean, I despise the Bruins. Why the hell would I watch them? But as far as the Canucks, I don't really know why they made this trade. Maybe they like Studnicka that much. I really don't know much about him to really give a full-on analysis about him, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. Because, again, this is an issue for the Vancouver Canucks, not the Buffalo Sabres or the New York Islanders for that matter. But it's just interesting where things fall into place with them. And Vancouver, like I said, they've been looking to retool, and this is it. This is what they want to do. So be it. So Vancouver, Jim Rutherford, Don Sweeney, they talked it out. They pulled the trigger on a trade, and this is what we're going to get. So there you have it. Jack Studnicka to the Vancouver Canucks for Mike DiPietro and another prospect. I think it was like Michael Reinenberg or something like that. I don't really remember. I think it was Reinenberg, if I remember his name. But he's going to the Boston Bruins with DiPietro. And when I think of that name, DiPietro, I think of Rick DiPietro, the former number 1 pick bust for the New York Islanders. Thanks, Scott Snow, you fucking idiot. I'll never forgive you. Not one Islander fan will forgive you for that. That's just a flashback to me. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so the other trade that was pulled by the Vancouver Canucks happened at 2:30 in the afternoon on a Friday. And again, the Vancouver Canucks have been linked to Ethan Bear, and Ethan Bear has been very unhappy in his role in Carolina, in Raleigh for that matter, basically saying, I'm not getting enough ice time. I want to go someplace where I can get an opportunity to play, and I also want to get a chance to show my worth. And they've been looking everywhere. The Sabres were linked to Ethan Bear. They probably asked for too much, and sure enough, I think the Rangers were brought up. I think Ottawa was brought up. Buffalo was definitely brought up. Vancouver was definitely brought in, because at the end of the day, that's where Ethan Bear went. He went to the Vancouver Canucks. So we're going to read that trade real quick. So the Vancouver Canucks acquired defenseman Ethan Bear and prospect Lane Peterson, who plays in the AHL, from the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for a 2023 fifth-round pick. Carolina finally gets rid of a headache, and Vancouver is getting some defensive blue line help. And I think Ethan Bear will establish himself really nicely in Vancouver if he can live up to his request, because he demanded a trade for almost 6 months and they couldn't find a partner until now. He's going to the Vancouver Canucks. And I should also mention that the Canucks are also retaining, the Hurricanes are going to be retaining almost $400,000 of that salary from Ethan Bear, but his contract is $2.2 million. So I want to just confess that, because the Canes are going to be retaining salary and they're cup contenders. So Carolina just got a free pick from Vancouver for a malcontent defenseman who has been begging for ice time. So I want to just address that real quick. So the Vancouver Canucks are done with vacant trades for a while. And I would not be surprised that if things definitely go south, don't be surprised that the Vancouver Canucks call Barry Trotz. And that's my opinion about that. So, because there has been talk that Barry Trotz will want to come back in the NHL, if nothing more than that. There's been reports even that he might come back as early as December, maybe after Christmas. We really don't know. But if there is a coaching job available, let's say if Vancouver is vacant, I think Barry Trotz takes the job. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think Trotz would be really intrigued by a original 6 team because I think he's mentioned that before, that he wants to coach an original 6 team. Vancouver, I think, would be a really nice spot for Barry Trotz. And he will, like John Tortorella with the Flyers, who are surprisingly doing really well. I must say, you know, Barry Trotz is a good coach. There's no doubt about that. And I watched him here for 3 years with the New York Islanders. And Barry Trotz, it was a phenomenal coach. He got the best out of everybody. And the Islanders, keep in mind, didn't have the best roster in the world. I mean, yeah, they went to the conference finals. They went in 2020 and 2021. And the Islanders did really damn well under Barry Trotz. And he got the best out of them. And Lane Lambert is supposed to be the watered-down version of Barry Trotz. So we're going to see where this goes. But as for Trotz himself, I would not be surprised if the Canucks look at him. As far as other deals go, I have 2 more topics, and then we're going to get to football's aspect, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to talk about the Ottawa Senators because earlier yesterday afternoon, it was reported by Bleacher Report and by other panels like Darren Dreger and Pierre LeBrun, etc., on TSN and Sportsnet, etc. They all said that the Ottawa Senators are up for sale, and the Melnyks no longer want anything to do with them because obviously, if you remember, Eugene Melnyk passed away earlier this year. I mean, I'm paying my respects. Rest in peace. I wish nothing but the best to the Melnyk family. I know it's been tough for them, but Eugene Melnyk was the only reason the Ottawa Senators were alive. And there's a possibility, we don't know who's going to buy the team, but I think if there's an investor out there, and I'm pretty sure there's a ton of interest. I don't know anybody who wants the team right now. I've heard some names that I really don't know much about, and I'm not going to give any names out because I really don't know any of them. But I have heard that I've heard a rumor that if the Melnyks, if they want to sell the Ottawa Senators, there has to be 2 things. They have to continue the plan for the LeBreton Flats Arena in downtown Ottawa because they've been talking about this for years. That they desperately need a new stadium because they are in the middle of buttfuck Oklahoma and they need to get the hell out of there. And so now, when you look at it, if you could get the LeBreton Flats to go to Ottawa, because their talks are now starting to pick up again ever since. With all due respect, Eugene Melnyk passed away, it feels very differently with the team. But as I think for his daughters and for one of his ex-wives or something like that was left the team, the Melnyks, like Ralph Wilson before them, before he passed away, want nothing to do with the team, and they sold them to someone else. And obviously, the Bills were sold to Terry Pegula. I think the same is going to happen to the Ottawa Senators. I think that they're going to sell it to somebody who has the money. I think they're going to be asking for $700 million within finances for, the Ottawa Senators. I think they're going to, whoever buys the team, they're going to get some investors, and then they're going to get some money and then loan some money and then get the team and all that shit. We don't really know what's going to happen to them. So I'm intrigued by what's going to happen because if they get put in the wrong hands, the Ottawa Senators could very well be relocating outside of Ottawa, could be going back to Quebec City, possibly, could go to Atlanta, possibly, could go to another city that could use an NHL team like Kansas City, possibly. Nobody really knows. But as far as the Ottawa Senators go, I'm interested where this is going to head out. And I mean, as a division rival, I would hate to see Ottawa leave. I would really hate to see the Sens leave Ottawa. I would honestly be devastated for them. I would feel really sorry for them. I felt sorry for Atlanta when they lost the Thrashers and they moved them to Winnipeg, but it didn't work out. But that wasn't really a hockey market per se. Ottawa is a huge hockey market. So, and it's also kind of, it's also the capital of Canada, basically, the equivalent of Washington, D.C. in the United States. Ottawa is Canada's capital. And for the Senators to leave there possibly, I think would be, very devastating and, more like tragic. But we'll see where this goes because I really don't have a stamp on it. I don't have like a food stamp on it to say if whether Sens are going to stay or not. I really don't know. But as a fan of the Sabres and as a division rival, I honestly would feel really sorry for them if they ended up leaving Ottawa, all because of corruption and, politics being involved and all that bullshit. But that's going to be the key factor. So those are my two primary focuses for the Ottawa Senators. Get somebody who is willing to keep the team in Ottawa, and then also on top of all that, make a commitment to the LeBreton Flats. That's what they should do, in my personal opinion. And I don't want to say too much of something I don't know much about, but that's just something that has to be said because, again, the Sens are in jeopardy depending on who buys the team, whether they move or not. I really don't know. So we're going to find out about the Ottawa Senators and maybe in a couple of months. I mean, with really no telling what's going to happen whatsoever. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left to go, and if anybody who's still interested and want to hear my comments about the Ottawa Senators or the Buffalo Sabres, etc., feel free to call at 929-205-6099. Feel free. I would love to hear your calls and fire it away. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So we're going to get down to the last topic of the evening for hockey, and then we'll move on to the second half with the trade deadline in the NFL. And the last topic of the night for hockey is on Monday morning or Monday evening, Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, great insider, by the way, for the NHL, basically came out with a report saying, and I quote, that Austin Matthews will resign in Toronto when his contract is up, but that does not think that it will be a long-term extension. He also mentions that there's no reason to think that Matthews is unhappy, but they have to constantly monitor how he's feeling. Okay. First and foremost, if I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan and I find out that, oh, I want to stay in Toronto, but it's not a long-term answer. It's not a 7-year deal, 8-year deal, etc. No. This is exactly what's going to happen. If things go south from now to when Matthews hits the free agency market in 2024, then there's going to be some serious problems in Toronto. The Leafs are already dealing with some shit. You know, coaching changes, possibly with Shelton Keefe on the hot seat, Matt Murray being injured, Kyle Dubas possibly getting fired. The Maple Leafs are in shambles, and they better win the cup this year, because if they don't win the cup, that's it. They had their chance. And this core they got, and arguably losing, the American player in NHL to go down south to another market like Arizona or wherever, New Jersey. I don't know where he would land, but I think it would be Arizona because he is from there. However, if I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I honestly would be very concerned about this because this is your best player by far, hands down. And at the same time, you also have to take into account that if you're not signing your best player to a long-term deal, right, and you're not paying him $8 million or $10 million, whatever the asking price is, because I think he's making over 10.5 for a 5-year contract with the Leafs currently. Because I feel like that if he doesn't take an 8-year deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs by, let's say, next year, there is going to be some serious problems. And the Leafs right now don't have a lot of cap because they ended up using all that money on Matthews, Marner, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, and then Morgan Riley. They had to let Jack Campbell go because of this shit. And again, the Leafs are a good overall team, but there are way too many problems. Goaltending, defense, depth, it doesn't matter. The Leafs are in some serious trouble, and they know it. So for the Leafs, they need to do something because I don't know how much farther it's going to go for Toronto to be where they are. But at the end of the day, when it comes to it, I really don't know what to think of them because the Leafs have not gotten past the first round in 18 fucking years. That was the last time the Maple Leafs got past the first round of the playoffs. I was only fucking 12 years old. Yeah, I was 12 years old the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs made it past the first round of the playoffs. That's fucking pathetic. And to think that with all that time, you would think that the Toronto Maple Leafs, with how much star power they have on offense, you would think that at least they would at least win one playoff series, maybe two at best. But no, they choked way too many times in the past. The time's running out in Toronto. And the time for them to do it was now. They should have won against Montreal. They should have won against Tampa. And they definitely should have won against at least one series against Boston. Because if they were able to get past any of those teams, even Columbus, yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, the Toronto Maple Leafs are in shambles. It's fucking ludicrous. So at the end of the day, I really don't know what's going to happen from here on out. And we actually got a comment. He's hey Joey, what's up? Saying what's up? I'm all by myself. Yes, I am. I am all by myself. Tom's got some work stuff going on, and I am filling in for the night. I have no idea who else is coming in. And he says, "You are a big boy, not a baby. I shouldn't have to ask you how you feel every day." Wait, what? Okay, what the fuck? You are a big boy, not a baby, and I shouldn't have to ask you how you feel every day to wipe your ass. Wow. Dude, you're so lucky that I am not next to you. If I slapped you too hard, you probably would have turned to dust. Let's put it that way. In other words, I just called you old. It's all good, brother. It's all good. It's all fun. But we're gonna cut it to break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about some football. So, Joey, if you want to come on the show and hang out with me for half an hour, fire away, buddy. I'm all here.
Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It's your Wednesday night uncensored, unfiltered, and unafraid sports show. You still look? This episode of Buffalo After Dark starts now.
Okay, guys, we are back for part 2. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I just got over, if you missed it, I talked about the NHL for the first half of the show. I had a lot to digest. So we're going to talk about the Bills-Packers game. It shouldn't take too long because I got to go talk about the trade deadline. And so let's go talk about this because I feel like if you saw the Bills game on Sunday, and I think a lot of you have because it was a primetime game against the Green Bay Packers, the Bills, they didn't necessarily blow out the Packers, but they were good enough to say, hey, we have an offensive juggernaut. The Packers were completely shorthanded. No Allen Lazard, no Randall Cobb. Aaron Rodgers was pissed. And Aaron Jones ran for pretty much 85% of the offense. And just in time, Julian, what's up, boss?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you feeling tonight?
Good. You just made it, buddy. We're talking about the game for a little bit. And I'm actually running the show tonight, so you're just going to have to cooperate with me for a little bit. You all right with that?
Yeah, man, I'm mad I'm a little late because I definitely want to talk about the Sabres because, oh, boy, these guys are balling. I don't know how you say it in hockey terms. I don't know whether we skating, we pucking.
Yeah.
These guys are playing phenomenal. I love what I see from these guys. Taze Thompson, oh, my goodness.
That guy's going to be a star.
Yeah, all of them. He's just in the right place at the right time. Yeah. I don't want to take over the show right now.
Yeah.
I got to talk about, but yeah, I love what I'm seeing from Sabres so far.
Yeah, for certain. I mean, we definitely can talk about them another time for sure. But right now, we're actually just about to review the Bills-Packers game. And yes, I got called a bitch and a baby by Joey Hatch just a few minutes ago. And God forbid on that one. And I think he's here, actually. Let me double check.
Hey, did you not notice I was here too, or what?
Oh, fuck, it's Adam. What's up, guy?
Jeez, I'm just like nothing to you now.
I didn't even know you were here.
Yeah, just popped in the same time that Julian popped in. I popped in the same exact time. I'm pretty sure.
Dude, that's scary shit, dude. No, but yeah, we're just going over the game. We're gonna talk about some trades at the deadline because I know I got a lot to say. So we're just gonna cut some time on it. So because Adam's here, let's talk about the Panthers game against the Falcons really quick. And what the fuck happened to you guys?
Okay, all right. Let me break it down for you. Here's how it went.
Fire away.
So, oh god, I'd like to say I'm mad about it, but I'm not because I'm, you know what? I didn't expect going into that game. Everyone thought it was going to be a fucking 14-14 game or some low scoring game. So when I was watching, I was like, wow, this is surprisingly good for fucking, two shit teams. I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. And then, everything's going great. All of a sudden, DJ Moore pulls out the fucking hands with the fucking beautiful fucking but just keep this in perspective. That was from PJ fucking Walker, not any quarterback.
I was watching him from the XFL a couple years back, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
PJ fucking Walker aired that bitch out, and DJ Moore got his hands on it. But you get up, You're mad about the catch you didn't make 2 plays ago. So you take your helmet off, slam it down like a little bitch, and then you cost the team the game. You legit cost the team the game. Not to mention, I'm not saying he didn't cost the team the game. He kept them in the game, cost them the game at the same time. And then little Eddie Pinero comes out and goes, you know what? Don't worry, guys. I got this. I got this 50-yard fucking field goal, or 56, whatever it was, and he blows it. But I wasn't that butthurt because, that's not many fucking kickers in the NFL can make that fucking kick. And I was like, well, Eddie Pinero, you tried, bud. A little bit wide.
It's actually
the game keeps on going. I'm like, well, there's still hope. Down the field on a 33-yard kick. I'm like, okay, Eddie, take her home, buddy. Take her home. And what does Eddie do? He kicks her fucking wider than on the 56-yard fucking kick. And I'm just like, you know what, Eddie? I liked you a little bit before, but now you're a piece of dog shit. I do not like you, and I do not like your face.
Oh, you had a pretty rough week.
Dude, how do you get so close within a foot on a 56-yard kick, and then when it comes down to a little regular fucking field goal kick, you're 2.5 feet wide? How?
You know what? I wish I knew the answer because the Leafs the Panthers, they had the division lead in their grasp and they fucking low-counted it.
I don't know, dude. I wasn't expecting that game to even be anything. It turned into a fucking thriller. It was a good game to watch. Like I'm not butthurt at the part that like it was a really good game. Like I enjoyed watching it. Like it was one of the best games I've watched in a long time. But I just Eddie Pinero, you're a piece of dog shit.
And then of course you have to watch Falcons fans bitch and moan about it. But it gets better because in week 10 they play again in Charlotte on primetime on Amazon.
I hope Johnny Hecker takes the kicks because I don't want fucking Pinero anywhere near that ball.
Just throw him into the Wolves. Everything will be fine.
Send them in the parking lot with the fans. Let them kick the shit out of them.
Yeah, so we're gonna move right down to the Bills-Packers game, and I know Adam's gonna have to go through multiple sessions of therapy after that. The Bills game, I gotta just say a 2 quick word review. They took their foot off the gas. That's exactly what they did. First half, they played great. Second half, Jair Alexander is a bitch, and we have all learned that on national television. And Stephon Diggs basically said, it was my game. I won that one for the team, basically. And many people just like they literally just like they just took it out of context and literally just said, oh, Stephon Diggs' ego was blown out of the way. I'm like, no, it's more just because of the rivalry they had when he was on the Vikings after all those years. And they probably wanted to get back at each other. But at the end of the day, though, I think Allen had a really good first half, but he was pretty crappy. It looked like 2018 Josh Allen all over again.
I was really surprised.
Now, when it comes down to the second half with Josh Allen, I feel like they just got a little too cocky. They were just doing a little too much when you should have just ran the ball. I mean, the run game was looking phenomenal. There's no reason why you're doing a little too much, Josh. I mean, in a sense, that may be a little sugar high, but I feel like you kind of like, in the sense of driving and you took the foot off the gas and then you try to hit the clutch a little too hard and you end up fucking up the gears and you stall out type of thing. That's probably what it came down to. But yeah, I totally agree. The first half, they looked phenomenal. But yeah, second half, they definitely took their foot off the gas with kind of with the rookie mistake. So yeah, pressing a little too much when they shouldn't. I don't know. Take what the defense gives you, so to speak.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Adam? I'm sorry.
The one thing I'm going to disagree with you on that one is run game for Buffalo is pretty non-existent. I don't know what game you were watching.
Well, I mean, that's what we're gonna get to in a few minutes. Is the trade deadline because we actually have a buttload of trades.
A big back. You need a big back, and you gotta back that's the same size as Singletary. You can see what Singletary can do, and that's not very much.
Well, I mean, we'll see for sure. I mean, we'll definitely talk about that in a little bit. But first, we actually have some trades to go over because I think we recapped both games. So I think we're good from here. So yesterday, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure 90% of the fucking country knows, is that yesterday was the NFL trade deadline. And normally this is usually a year where it's a complete dud. This year, there was a surprisingly amount of 20 trades, but we're not going over every single one, but we're going to go over the main ones that happened over the week, give our thoughts on it, and then go from there.
It was the most since 2012, I believe, the most trades towards the trade deadline or something like that.
I heard it was 2002.
2002, wow, so even further.
Yeah, it was over 20 years ago, but we're going to definitely talk about it because there is way too much that we can't miss out on. Because if you were here last week on the show, and I know you were here, Julian, I think Adam was not here. I know he wanted to say something about Christian McCaffrey, but I think I got to say, dude, before we get to that, San Francisco on offense looks really good, but giving up that much of what they gave up to the Panthers was really fucking stupid, honestly.
Yeah, okay, but at the same time, how many fucking running backs do you know got a fucking Gordie Howe hat trick of football?
Well, not many, really. And Julian, in context of what the Gordie Howe hat trick is, it's a goal and assist and a fight in the same game.
Oh, nice.
That's what it's called, the Gordie Howe hat trick.
So he got a fucking rushing touchdown, he got a passing touchdown, and he passed for a TD to his fucking teammates.
My biggest question is, how long will that success last, honestly?
I don't know. I at the same time, I've been a Panthers fan for I don't know how long, but I've seen Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy, he stays healthy. He's a fucking force to be reckoned with. Probably the best, if not the best, running back in the league all around.
Well,
and when he's hurt, then he's like any other hurt player. I think at times he just tries too much, and he just re-aggravates old injuries, and most times he could like take the highway, get more yards, but you can see the way he plays. He likes to put his head down and run right to the fucking middle every time. So
yeah, I mean, in Carolina that wouldn't have been the case, but in San Francisco, for what the two games they've been brought to the table, it just feels like I don't know how to describe them. I mean, San Francisco, they've made another trade with the Dolphins. We'll get to them in a bit. But the whole thing with San Francisco is they're trying to do what the Rams did a year or two ago, was they traded all their picks. They said, fuck them picks. And they went out and got all these guys, and they won a Super Bowl. Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, Von Miller, etc. And they built that team, and they went to the Super Bowl. So San Francisco, by getting McCaffrey, is a start to what they're trying to do. And do I think that the Niners are contenders for the Super Bowl? Absolutely. Is Jimmy G the guy? Hell no. But I definitely think that
he's not. But he has those pieces, dude. That if you got a Deebo Samuel and a fucking CMC that you can just have at your disposal, you could be what's his name on fucking on the Colts, and you could have an all-star season. Yeah, you could have an all-star season with weapons like that. And look at like their offensive line, dude. Like they're insane. They're stacked.
Definitely.
They just need someone other than Jimmy G, but you have to settle for Jimmy G right now. They don't have a choice. So,
you know what? I'm actually glad we're talking about this about San Francisco, because San Francisco got heavily involved yesterday at the trade deadline, because the Miami Dolphins decided to fuck them over big time. Because if you remember, in 2021, we were talking very heavily about Trey Lance. And Trey Lance was obviously the guy that was brought up to go to the New England Patriots, the San Francisco 49ers, etc. What did they do? They ended up trading 3 first-round picks to move to where Miami was. And they used those 3 first-round picks, which the Dolphins received from San Francisco. They used one on Jalen Waddle. They used one on Tyreek Hill. And then they used the other one yesterday in a trade with the Denver Broncos, in which they traded Bradley. They got Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos, and they ended up trading the 2023 first-round pick, which now belongs to Denver because they fucked up the Russell Wilson trade big time. So they said, okay, we look foolish. Now we have to go out and get a first-round pick and rebuild again. So now you overpay for a linebacker who is not always the best in shape and he's not always healthy. And yet here you are, you're bringing in Bradley Chubb, who will help the interior defensive line and bring in the pass rush and the sacks and stuff like that. But they're trying to get their equivalent of Von Miller. That's what the Miami Dolphins are doing here in that trade. So basically, the Trey Lance trade turned into Trey Lance in San Francisco for Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb. That's what it turned into.
Who's the guy in fucking the Browns?
Nick Chubb.
No, not Chubb. I know who Chubb is. He's a big guy, big athletic guy on fucking the Browns on the offensive line or on the defensive line. McKenzie? Is it McKenzie?
Are you thinking of Myles Garrett?
Myles Garrett, yeah, that guy. That guy's a fucking beast.
Oh yeah, Myles Garrett's been a monster since he got drafted.
Oh my god, dude! I was watching that game, the last game, and he is a heat-seeking missile towards quarterbacks, dude.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a top 5, defensive end in the league for sure. Myles Garrett, man, he's a good player for the Browns. I mean, they got him and Nick Chubb. They're gonna get Deshaun Watson pretty soon. So the Browns, I mean, their season's lost, but Cleveland's got some good players.
I don't know, dude. I don't think it's lost because they beat the Bengals up pretty fucking bad.
They do, and I'll give you that for sure. But
man, I don't know. I feel like the Bengals are paper giants on some real. I'm not really too convinced. I'm not going to take away their Super Bowl appearance from last year. Joe Burrow's a great quarterback, but I don't know. They're too inconsistent for me to really. I mean, I feel like last year was, I want to say fluke, but they kind of had a nice trip to get to the Super Bowl. I don't know, man. I'm just still not sold on the Bengals just yet.
Yeah,
well, I mean, same with the Eagles, dude. I'm not convinced that the Eagles are as good as they are.
It's different because they're undefeated, though. That I do feel you 100%, but they're undefeated. Like, I don't know.
So look at their team. Look who they're playing, though, dude. Look at their schedule coming up. Look at their schedule coming up. It's a bunch of fucking bum teams.
Yeah, I mean,
like they got the easiest schedule in the league, dude.
Yeah, they do. And I actually looked at that Philly schedule not too long ago. I mean, I would even make the argument for the Vikings. The Vikings are in the same conversation. They have a cheap schedule. I mean, yeah, they got I think they have San Francisco coming up. They got Buffalo coming up. They got a couple of teams in that schedule. I think
didn't they play like Detroit? They played Detroit twice.
I think yeah, I think they would. I mean, the way I look at it is like the NFC is so fucking washed. Like, I don't even know where to begin with that, because at the end of the day, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, both of these teams definitely improved. I mean, the big trade that Minnesota did the other day with Detroit, what the Lions did yesterday was a fucking death sentence. They literally traded away TJ Hawkinson.
Best trade end they've ever had.
That's gonna be big for them. That's gonna be huge. He's a good tight end.
Yeah, you got fucking Justin Jefferson on there. You got KJ Osborne. You got fucking Dalvin Cook. You now have TJ Hawkinson. The Minnesota Vikings are not playing around this year. They want to go to the Super Bowl. But the problem is San Francisco, I think, is better than them offensively. I mean, yeah, they got Jetta, but it doesn't mean shit because Kirk Cousins is not a playoff performer or a primetime performer. So you need that in order to win the Super Bowl. Let alone get there, you have to win on primetime, and Kirk Cousins is apparently allergic to primetime games. So it doesn't matter if you have Justin Jefferson or TJ Hawkinson, whatever. Minnesota, I think the package they gave up to Detroit to get him, not only was it unexpected, but they gave them a bag of peanuts. That's basically what it was.
Yeah, they didn't give up too much. That was a definite win for the Vikings because I didn't expect him to. I didn't even hear his name like being waved around for being traded. So like that was the most surprising trade to me, other than McCaffrey. That was a dagger to my heart. That's for sure.
Yeah. You want to talk about daggers in the heart? How about the Chicago Bears trading Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn? Robert Quinn to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens. Those were the two trades, I think, that really bolstered their chances of, oh, shit, we're going to be tanking.
I don't know. If you're talking about the Browns?
No, the Bears.
Oh, the Bears. Oh, yeah, the Bears are fucked.
Yeah, Chicago's done. And what's really embarrassing is not only did the Bears trade away their best defensive player, Roquan Smith, actually, sorry, their two best defensive players, and Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, both of them are gone, and they got a bag of peanuts for them, and we have 15 minutes to go. But anyway, so you trade those two guys, and then you make a trade, which makes no sense to me. They trade for Chase Claypool, and they gave up a second-round pick, not the one they got from the Ravens. They gave up their own second-round pick to Pittsburgh. So they traded a second-round pick for a Canadian boy.
Well, I got nothing against Canadian boys, but I definitely think that Pittsburgh got an A+ on that one. They got a D-.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like ratings over like multiple platforms about the Bears with Chase Claypool, and most of them have said either a D or a D+. I'm like, well, is it really that bad? Because the only thing the Bears accomplished was pissing off the Packers.
The whole grading system makes no, well, it makes sense and it doesn't make sense because I seen the one for McCaffrey to the 49ers, and I get it, the injury thing. Everyone brings it up all the fucking time. But if you get Christian McCaffrey at fucking prime Christian McCaffrey, you got one of the best players in the league. And they only give the San Fran a B+. And I'm like, oh my God, you're at least it was an A, at least, because even if he's hurt, if he's out for half the season, he's still going to come back and get more fucking yards than half the fucking running backs in the fucking league. So,
right. And I agree with that 100%. I think it should have been higher, but I don't know how they're judging that trade. But as far as I know, San Francisco, with the game against the Rams on Sunday, they literally hit it out of the park. And I think that there's a lot that is being said across the league about San Francisco, because if the playoffs started today, guess who the 49ers would be playing today? They would be playing the Minnesota Vikings in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and if I was the Vikings, I'd be scared as fuck.
You're not kidding. San Francisco, I'm telling you, San Francisco set themselves up really nicely. The only way to make this better is if you extend Christian McCaffrey, but at the same time, you also have to pay Nick Bosa. So they can choose, San Fran. You got to pay McCaffrey or you got to pay Bosa. You can't have both.
Okay, so that's hard, right? Because I think they either want one of them to see what happens if they can go all the way, and I don't know who they're going to choose, but I feel like McCaffrey, if he stays healthy the whole season, he'd be the one they pick. But
I would love for the Bills to get McCaffrey in the offseason, but I think, though, if they're going to do that, they would have to get rid of Nyheim Hines. That's what I think they have to do. And speaking of that, we're going to talk about that trade as well, because I know Adam had some interesting comments to say about this trade. So over just 3 minutes before the buzzer at the 4:00 trade deadline yesterday, the Indianapolis Colts have struck a deal with the Buffalo Bills, in which the Bills have acquired running back Nyheim Hines from the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for running back Zach Moss and a conditional 6th-round pick, which could turn into a 5th. So, boys, what do you got your opinion? Julian, I think you have a response. You seem very eager about it.
No, I mean, yeah, I love it. I love the pick. I mean, great. I mean, because Zach Moss is one-dimensional. He's your power back, but not so much power, if you know what I'm saying. He loves to run into the back of his offensive line. He has poor vision, but, I mean, he has a couple good games. But no hate against Zach Moss. I hope you do great over there in Indy. But, no, Nyheim Hines is an upgrade, and I'm okay with getting rid of that 6th-round pick. It could be possibly a 5th round, but yeah, I'm great with the trade. I was watching a couple of videos. I've seen throughout the years. Great running back. He can move into slot. Great catching out the backfield. Kind of could show James Cook a thing or two. Help him develop into a better running back, because he got, how long has he been in the league? Like what? About 5-6 years.
Yeah,
plus,
about 5 years.
Yeah, so he got a little bit of time under him, more than Singletary at least. And then yeah, so I look forward to him. And he also has punt return experience, the kick return experience, so that definitely helps us out, because once Andre Roberts had left a couple years back, we kind of been up in the air with our kick return and punt return. Nobody has really been solidified. I mean, we've been jumping between Micah Hyde had a couple kick return, punt returns, not kick returns, but punt returns. Well, Isaiah McKenzie to Shakir. I mean, we don't have a solidified returner, so maybe Nyheim Hines kind of take over that role, or does he move Isaiah McKenzie out from his slot position? And I don't know. It kind of opens up the offense a little bit more, another weapon for Josh Allen. And I mean, it just we improved. We
Only
definitely.
one way to find out for sure. That's how I can say it.
I overall, I feel like we improved.
Yeah.
Good trade, and then especially with Dean Morrow as well. Great safety. Well, I would say great safety, but I mean, he's been in the system before. He knows the playbook. He knows our defense, and yeah, great job by Brandon Bean.
Yeah. So Adam, I know you had something to say about the trade because I know you were very feisty about it or sassy about the trade yesterday.
I don't think it's terrible. In the end, it's not terrible. It's Brandon Bean being Brandon Bean, picking, at the part where do I want to risk a lot to not get a lot, or don't I take this and go with it and see what happens? But in my opinion, my personal opinion, if you were going for a back, you should have went for a bigger back, a Hunt or a Foreman out of the Panthers, a big back that gets yards on, 30 carries a game, but he fucking goes in there hard. I don't know. I don't think bringing in a back that's the same size as Singletary is going to put any fear in anybody's minds, because when you put a back like Hunt off the Bears, or off the Bears off the Browns, or you put Foreman off the Panthers in, like players like that, backs like that put fear in defensive lines, because they storm them and knock them down. Unless you're a McCaffrey sized player or a player like that, you're not gonna have the same effect on the players as a bigger back. So in the end, I think it's not a bad move by Bean. It's not. And if it works out, you get low risk and probably bigger reward. So I don't think it's the most terrible idea, but in the end, I think you need a better back.
I mean, in an extent, I agree, but if you need a pass catching running back, Nyheim Hines is perfect. If you take of what the Colts were setting up to be, but didn't really use him, like they were supposed to, if you just used him as a starting running back over Jonathan Taylor, I think that's disrespectful, because JT is amazing when he's healthy. But when you take Nyheim Hines, he can pretty much accommodate to what 75% of what Christian McCaffrey can do. He can pass, he can catch passes after the run. He can, juke guys out. He's versatile. He's got a lot of speed. And that's why a lot of Indianapolis Colts fans were not happy about the trade, because they felt that they should have gotten more for Hines, a fourth rounder at most. But
yeah, but what's okay. So like I've seen, here's my question to you. So I've seen McCaffrey as a back catch the ball and yardage afterwise, like after the catch, is better than half the fucking wide receivers in the fucking league. So like, I don't think in the offseason, if McCaffrey doesn't get signed, you guys be fucking silly. You'd be fucking retarded not to try to get him, because in the back of my mind, I think that they're only using McCaffrey for, hey, let's put him with Debo, and now we got two weapons. Let's see if we can get a Super Bowl. If we can't get it, then
you're screwed.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a loner player.
Yeah. But I will say this, and I read a stat that was very interesting, and then we got like about 5 minutes left, guys, is Nyheim Hines has the fifth most receiving yards for a running back with 1,725 since he entered the league in 2018. He's also under contract for 2 more years at a base salary of $4.45 million in 2023 and $5.14 million in 2024.
Okay, well, his salary is manageable.
He's also 25 years old. I should mention that too.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's still young. He's still got, how many years has he been in the league?
About 5 years.
5 years. So he's got some years. Who knows? He could come to Buffalo and light shit up. You don't know, right? If you go from being with, where he was at, you're in the shadow of Taylor, to now you're probably the best back on the team. The only person you're competing with is fucking Singletary. And Singletary is he gets it done, but he's not elite by any means.
But now with that, I'm gonna ask you. I mean, it's not like Naheem Hines is coming here taking over running back one snaps. I mean, Singletary is still running back one, and with the sprinkle of Naheem Hines, maybe they swap him out, drive here, drive that. But I don't see Naheem Hines taking over the backfield, especially with the way Singletary's been playing.
Well, I have read that the Bills are going to use him as a receiver and a kick returner. I don't know for a fact because they just got the fucker yesterday, so we really don't know. But there's a catch. It also comes down to what happens with Zach Moss, because I have read, and I don't know for sure, but we'll find out in the coming days, is Zach Moss allegedly did not take his physical yet with the Indianapolis Colts. And if it fails, they have to renegotiate the trade. Hines would still be in Buffalo because he's already gone by this point. So it is what it is. But I expect him to pass the physical, and the trade will be official. But at the same time, I think Hines will be a nice asset. He's not going to be the number one or the number three. He'll be in between. They're going to use him on trick plays. They're going to use him on special teams. They're going to use him on third downs. The thing with those three is if you put the three of them together in a race, Naheem Hines, 9 times out of 10, would most likely win over Singletary or even James Cook. I think Cook would be a very close second, and I'm not counting on Singletary, but Naheem Hines is ridiculous, and he's fast. And Pat McAfee talked about him the other day about how angry he was that the Indianapolis Colts ended up trading him away because they felt that they weren't using him properly into their system. So that's why. And also Hines also requested a trade out of Indianapolis. So that's why too, he was able to come to Buffalo, and, he's now going to be playing on a really high hefty offense.
Well, at the same time too, look at, again, my number one point is look where he's coming from and look what he's going into. You got in my opinion, the best quarterback in the fucking league. That's going to throw to you. He likes to throw, so you're going to have opportunities if you're put in there. So
absolutely. So with that said, though, guys, that will be the end of the show for this week. We'll be back next Wednesday, and I am your host, Bob Hansen, with Julian Colon and Adam Fitzgerald. Guys, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up for the evening?
Panthers are going to make the playoffs.
Let's hope so. I would love for them to make the playoffs. Julian, you got anything to say, guy?
Yeah, I mean, go Bills, go Sabres. Let's keep this up. Let's go Buffalo. Check me out, Julian J Mafia. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Please send me up. I love to have anybody on the show. Talk about Bills. Talk what we need to talk about, and number love.
Damn right. And I will be at the game with my wife, Brittany, on Sunday against the Jets. And then I talked about it last week. I'm going to the Patriot game at the end of the month of November. In the end of November, early December, I'll be in Boston for the Patriots game. But Sunday, I'm going to the Jet game. So that's going to be fun. I'm hoping Naheem Hines will be on the team by this point fully. And we will see what goes on from there. So we'll put it that way. So with that said, I'm your host, Bob Hansen, and I will talk to you guys later and see you next time.
Peace. Go Bills.
Buffalo After Dark is an H&H Studio production and is produced in partnership with Horns & Hooves Entertainment.